Hi guys, it's Richard here, the Longshot King, and here with my preview and analysis of the second day of the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita 2012, and going to look at a few of the races and see if we can pick out some value alternatives to some of the shorter prices. Now the first race we're going to look at is the 5:35 UK time. It's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint Preview Stakes, and basically Europe has a very strong hand in this. We have two entries. One of them is Tom Dascombe's Upward Spiral, and the other one is John Gosden's Snow King. Now, Upward Spiral finished fourth behind stable companion Sealing Kitty in the Queen Mary at Ascot earlier this season, and has run in all of its four runs, has been very, very consistent. But yesterday, Sealing Kitty finished fifth of five in one of the juvenile dirt races, and I'm sure that Tom Dascombe was pretty disappointed with that. And of course, that doesn't really do Upward Spiral's chances any favours here. Now, Upward Spiral is still likely to go off favourite, but doesn't really look very much value at around a 3-to-1 mark. Now, John Gosden has the once raced Snow King. Basically, this one won by the narrowest of margins in a 17-runner maiden at Ascot earlier this season. But the thing is that John Gosden has an extremely good record in juvenile turf races at the Breeders' Cup. Also previously has two winners with Pounced and Donativum. But we want to try and look at the American runners as well. Now, Jump for Kitten, trained by Wesley Wald. If you're a UK race fan, then you'll know Wesley Wald very well. Always tries to come over to Ascot every June at the Royal Meeting, and has had some really, really good success there. Now, Jump for Kitten was a bit disappointing last time, finished third, beaten 7 lengths in a stakes race, and looking at that, probably doesn't look good enough to win this race here today. The one that's interesting is this one here, Cafister. Now, Cafister has only had the 2 runs. As you can see, it's won both of those starts, albeit they've been in low-grade company. The first of those was a claimer, and the second one of those was a starting allowance, so relatively low grade. But has shown very, very good pace on both of those occasions, and last time run on very, very well and run on very, very strongly, even after setting a very, very good pace. So Cafister around about the 20-to-1 mark with the British bookmakers looks a little bit of value, has a good draw, and I think this one could get to the lead and could give us a big run. The second race we're going to look at is the 6:50 UK time, and basically this is a really, really strong juvenile race. It's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and Europe has an extremely strong hand here. Mahmoud Al Zarouni with Frankie Dettori up is putting out Artigiano. Again, another one that's run very well this season, finished second behind the highly consistent Mark Johnston trained Steeler, but that form probably doesn't look quite good enough, with Steeler finishing second to Dundonald at York earlier this season. Now, Dundonald, again, another highly progressive horse, looks very likely to go a favourite for this, for Roger Charlton, but was beaten last time by Richard Hannon's Toronado, beaten half a length, and that one is now unbeaten. We can't really knock the form of Dundonald, but the run at York just didn't seem to give me the confidence to say that this one would run well on this tight track. It took a long time to get the upper hand against Steeler in that race at York, and basically not going to have that luxury here with the tight track. And also, you know, drawn in 6, the draw's okay, but might struggle to get a very good early position. The one that we want to look at, the one that I think is really interesting, is this one here, Balance the Books, trained by Chad Brown. Probably going to be trading around about the 10 to 12-to-1 mark with the British bookmakers. And last time out, ran an incredibly interesting race, running the graded Bourbon Stakes, missed the break, was bumped at the start, was left out last, and then made its move rounding the final 2 turns. Seemed to run very green. Has only had the 3 runs, but still seemed to run very green. But got hampered in the straight, but still managed to get up on the line. And this looks one that's going places, and really, really at this sort of price, around about the 10, 12-to-1 mark, looks the value against the European Raiding Party. So let's take a look at the next race now. Okay guys, the next race we're going to look at is the 8:14 UK time, and it's the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And in this one we've got an American trained Godolphin runner, MC, which won over a furlong shorter last time out. Took its time to get going, but run out a very convincing winner, winning just over 4 lengths, and that was taking part in one of the Win and You're In series for the Breeders' Cup, and that's why it's running here today. A very short price at 3 to 1, and looks likely to go off favourite. But the one that looks really interesting at a big price is the one at the bottom here, Second City. Now, basically it's had 5 runs, won its first 4 races, but last time out pulled far too hard and basically run out of steam in the home straight. Had previously sat off the pace and came late and went clear in the home stretch. And this one looks interesting at around about the 33 to 1 mark. Won a maiden claimer on its first run, and then followed that up with a couple of allowance races. But its 4th run was in graded company and ran out a very convincing winner. And I think the last run we can forget because the horse did pull far too hard. So basically, Second City in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile looks decent value at 33 to 1. So let's take a look at the next race we're going to look at. So the next race we're going to look at is the 22:18 UK time, and it's the Breeders' Cup Turf, and this is probably one of the best races on the card today. And of course the Europeans have a very strong hand in this. Aidan O'Brien is running St Nicholas Abbey, which of course won the race last year, and he's also got Treasure Beach in the race. And we have the French trained filly Charetta, who won really well at York earlier in the season, but didn't run so well in the Arc just recently. Basically the ground was against that filly then. Had previously, if you look at last year's Arc form, finished 2nd behind Daydream. So we know that this one definitely goes on the faster ground. And you know, the price at 7 to 2, it's definitely short when we look at the form of St Nicholas Abbey, already proven in the States on fast turf ground. So St Nicholas Abbey is definitely a worthy favourite. Has the best piece of form in the book with its 3rd in the Juddmonte behind Frankel, of course. But there are a couple of other interesting horses here that I want to just take a look at. The first one is the former Brian Meehan trained Cogito, now trained by Doug O'Neill, ridden by Frankie Dettori. Not quite going to make the mark on the rankings, but was very unlucky at Royal Ascot when finishing in behind Most Improved, and could be an interesting contender at an outside price. But the other one that looks even more interesting is the one down here, Slim Shady, who was formerly trained in the UK. Basically won last time out in a graded race. The thing about Slim Shady is if we go back and we look at its form, we can see, I'm just going to actually open up the form lines now, and there's one form line in particular that I want to have a look at, and it's basically this one here. This was the 2,000 guineas, Frankel's 2,000 guineas back in 2011, finished 4th for 13 in, if you remember, an amazing race. But it just goes to show that this one does have the ability. It never actually went forward from that run in the 2,000 guineas, was pretty disappointing from then on in. Had run in very good company, and I think that Slim Shady looks overpriced at the 25 to 1. Does have it to find on the ratings, but definitely looks interesting and could actually pop into a place at a very big price. So let's take a look at the next race. Okay guys, so the next race we're going to take a look at is the Breeders' Cup Mile, and of course here we have Aidan O'Brien's X-Celebration, and of course the horse needs no introduction. Was an absolutely facile winner last time out on Champions Day at Royal Ascot, and basically this race looks a match between X-Celebration and the US Wise Dan. Now, you know, of course X-Celebration has to be the favourite. Basically, I think looking at the early prices this morning, you can actually get 6 to 4 about X-Celebration, and I would be mightily surprised if this one is beaten. I think the fascinating thing about this race is really, you know, will Wise Dan get close to X-Celebration? and will the result actually have a bearing on the rating of Frankel? Now, I don't know whether the ratings can change for Frankel after this race, now that the horse has retired, but we can be sure that if Acceleration wins, that one's rating is going to go up. And I think we're looking at a horse here that without Frankel would have been definitely the best miler the world has ever seen. And I know that's very high praise, but of course came up against Frankel and was beaten each time. But I think a race to savour here, and it's definitely going to be Acceleration to win very, very easily. Let's move on to the last race, and it's the Breeders' Cup Classic. So, final race of Breeders' Cup 2012. It's the Classic, and always a good race, but not very strong in depth. Looking at the full card this year. Now, of course, the favourite is Game On Dude, basically in very, very fine form, and won very easily last time out, winning the Awesome Again Stakes by 3.5 lengths. And on that day, beat Nonios and Richard's Kid. Now, interesting race. Game On Dude travelled really, really well throughout the race, was basically just sitting off the pace behind the pacemaker, and went on just turning in for home, and went on and won easily and was clear. But the one that I think is interesting is Richard's Kid, the third. This was way out the back, was never travelling very well, and never in with a chance of winning the race, but stayed on very, very strongly. Now, today's race is going to be a lot different. The pace is going to be much, much more severe today, and that's actually going to suit Richard's Kid much more. So I think that Richard's Kid looks really, really decent value at the 16 to 1 to 20 to 1 that's available this morning, and I think that it looks a decent each way shot. There are a number of horses here that are way, way big in the betting. This is because of Game On Dude. And Game On Dude is likely to win the race, but Richard's Kid will get much closer today than it did in the Awesome Again Stakes, and looks really, really solid each way value at the 16 to 1. So there you go, guys. There's my analysis of Breeders' Cup Day 2, and looking forward, hoping that we've picked you out a few winners, and I hope you do have a good day. Cheers now.